You see, one reason, the major reason why I said on reading about the history of Nigeria was because of the interaction between education and the society. Uh, I, I, I think I was more baffled about why um, universities still teaches courses that almost had no use in the society. Why you would teach people for a certain skill for a particular amount of years, but they couldn't get any kind of fulfillment in that skill except they left Nigeria and went somewhere else. Most times in the Western world, it just always thinking about it made me feel maybe we're pursuing the dream of another person, and uh, maybe we're pursuing the colonial dream. This is probably one of the major reasons that drove me to um, really wanting to know how education in Nigeria started. And that's why I'm actually going to be doing a multi series on education and society. Uh, from the time I started reading or started reading about the history, I think um, a lot of my ideas about education has probably changed. I've probably been able to interact with people based on my findings and talk with them and get probably a more uh, open mind about what education truly is, and why I think education in Nigeria is probably largely ineffective. So I'm just going to be sharing my opinion on some of the things I've learned uh, about education and how it influences Nigerian society. So it'll be helpful if you also interact and just give a comment about how your own education influences your own life, and what you think education in Nigeria should actually, or education should actually look like. So for that, I'm going to be starting from just a very historical perspective of how education actually started. I really do not have, based on the book, it didn't give of course it's just an history book, it wasn't a book about education, so it didn't say much about how education actually evolved from colonial time to what it is now. But just give an idea of how it started, and we all know what it is now, so I could probably connect the dots. So the first place to start is to go against the false notion maybe many people do have, but I'm sure I did have, that the northern Nigerians or Nigerians in the north just didn't value Western education like as their counterparts in the south. Because the truth was that both the northern Nigerians and southern Nigerians were never on a level playing field. The north has been denied access. Again, it goes back to Lord Lugard denying the missionaries access into the north so as to preserve the tradition and religion. But the south actually had great access because as at 1920, 1921 or 1926, there were about roughly 2,200 schools, of which over 2,000 was chiefly in the south, and almost very few, maybe less than I really don't know, but most of the schools were in the south. So as of 1926, you had 2,200 schools, of which out of the 2,200 schools, just had 18 secondary schools. So the idea of education starting even in the southern region was predominantly primary education and industrial training. So the missionaries were the first to start to provide the Western style or the European style of education to Nigerians. And what they mainly did was to teach to read and write literacy. So they taught only how to read and write in English. And this was enough to get people a middle class career. you probably wouldn't understand what a middle class career would look like in in Nigeria of the 1920s, because as of that time, again, Nigeria has actually been occupied by the British, so they were carrying a lot of infrastructural work. There was the main jobs Nigerians could actually get at that point in time were paid very little and was labor intensive, was dangerous. You can think of something like mining in probably the north central, mining tin, or laying railways, building roads. Most of those jobs um, um, paid very little. In fact, most of the pay wasn't probably enough to afford clothes and food. Because according to the book, it talks about some people even running away from those kind of work so as to go and start a farm or farm and start exporting agricultural produce. But the idea was, the job in the colonial economy at that point in time wasn't very attractive. So the fact that you could read and write gave you a better pedestal. Sorry, not just better, a higher pedestal over majority that were uneducated and only spoke the different local languages. So the middle class career gave you a better pay. They worked in the administrative sector. So the education majorly serviced the extractive economy that the British was carrying on in Nigeria. They were agricultural produce was being exported. They needed middlemen that could speak both the local language and both the local language and English. They needed people to work in clerks because they had courts, they had administrative. So I think from that you can begin to, if you can, but I was able to begin to probably see that the education was probably majorly geared towards administration, like administering, being part of the administrative unit of what the British had already started, the different companies they started, the export companies they started. So it was just being the administrative part of it, getting people to work under that umbrella that's been made. Again, I wouldn't zero out the fact that since the missionaries were the ones, were the first ones in the business, one of the major reasons was also to convert people to Christians. So most people that had this Western styled education were actually Christians. But again, this is enough incentive for people to actually want to get the European, Western styled education. So if you were born in 90s or 80s, you would hear the song Batayadu Koko Ka to Baka Wiyo Batayadu Koko. The idea was once you could read and write, once you could get literate, you would obviously get yourself a job outside working in the farm, working as a worker or a forced labor in the field or mining or laying roads. You would get yourself an IT status, because now you're better than most of the uneducated majority, and you're still, at least in the colonial time, not as good. So you're in between the British ruling elite and the uneducated majority. So that gave some kind of increased incentive for education. And I think probably till now, there's that sense that you just need to go to the university because there's going to be a job, because it just almost does, not just almost, it just doesn't work that way again. There's a lot of people that go through that same system because it has now been saturated. People just don't get jobs because